Hey everyone, this is Sammy from BrothersInsanity.com, bringing you our review of The Walking Dead Episode 1. Much like previous Telltale games, The Walking Dead is being released as 5 separate episodes. Now today we'll be reviewing the PlayStation 3 version, but the PC and Xbox Live versions are almost identical in every way. For those of you that have not played previous Telltale games before, The Walking Dead is a new take on the old point-and-click adventure games of the past, and play out through exploration and quick-time event button presses similar to, say, Heavy Rain. You have a cursor you move around to interact with the environment, and the face buttons are used to choose different spoken lines or item interactions. An interesting option in the menu allows you to choose between Standard and Minimal Mode. Minimal Mode is meant to be more challenging as you do not see the orbs near the objects that you can interact with, and you're not notified of relationship changes that will carry over throughout the game. In this all-new entry into the Walking Dead universe, you play as Lee, who's being escorted out of town in the back of a police car right as the world is starting to fall apart. I could go into more detail about Lee's character, but I will keep this review spoiler-free as half the fun is really learning the backstories of these characters. Through some interesting circumstances, Lee meets a young girl named Clementine who he must protect throughout the episode. As you traverse through the game, you run to iconic locations like Hershel's farm, and meet characters from the comic book before they meet up with Rick and the main cast of the series. Visually, the game uses hand-drawn textures on 3D models, giving it the effect of a living comic book, similar in style to Borderlands, but not nearly as detailed as this is a digital release on a budget. Animations are simple but effective, and the environments themselves are basic but do a decent job of setting the stage. While I wouldn't give the game a gold star for its visuals, it does nothing to hinder from the experience of the game. The game's soundtrack was incredibly forgettable, and I mean that in a very, very good way. The music only comes into play to heighten the mood or to emphasize a critical point during the game. The soundtrack stays in the background until just the right moment, and never at all takes you out of the action. In fact, while writing this review, I actually had to restart the game just to confirm there actually was music here. The voice acting, much like the graphics, feel a bit on the cheesy, campy side, but I wonder if that was more about how the dialogue was written, and not necessarily how the voice acting was performed. Again, it won't win any awards for excellence, but certainly did not hurt the experience in any way. As I said before, the gameplay is a mix of exploration, puzzle solving, and a series of on-rails QuickTime events and context-sensitive button presses. The game, however, does a great job of breaking up these segments well enough so that I never felt bored or tired of any one type. You have objectives that you get, and oftentimes you have to do a different objective to get the right tool for the previous one. Failing any or all of these scenarios can lead to a multitude of grisly deaths that you're given a front row seat to watch. Now, I finished The Walking Dead in around 2 hours, which is about par for the course when it comes to the episodic games from Telltale. Most players will want to play through the game at least twice, as there is a large decision you can make that branches the game into 2 different directions. Besides that, I have scenarios that I want to play differently, and will probably end up playing the game 2 or 3 more times. Beyond that, the gameplay offers nothing that brings you back. It's really the story and the characters that carry you throughout the game. The bottom line is that The Walking Dead is a very fun game. I think you have to take into consideration the cost of a game when you evaluate some of its shortcomings. Sure, the graphics aren't the best and the voice acting is cheesy at times, but for $5 you just can't go wrong. As an avid fan of the comic and the TV show, and as a huge old-school adventure game fan, it had everything I was expecting and more. I give The Walking Dead an 8 out of 10.